Good morning, everybody. I'm here to talk about the future of work, which super simplified is this slide. It is translating what you guys do on a daily basis, the digital transformation, into people transformation. Now, if I were just to do this in biz speak, what you do on the top half of the slide is the bottom line. Efficiencies, cost cutting, all of that. What we need to do more of is the bottom part of the slide, what's called the top line. But I'm not big on biz speak. So I want to speak to you personally. This is about, for the next half hour, it's about your people transformation, your transformation. What is your role in establishing the future of work? How easy is it going to be for you? How hard is it going to be for you? And when we speak of other people, I've heard a lot of stories last night over drinks and dinner about what happened yesterday. I want to add one word to all the amazing conversations yesterday, and that's empathy. When we talk about taking others through this transformation, how much empathy do we have for others? And I want to also ask you to do that for yourself. So as I go through the next few minutes, it's, are you taking good enough care of you during the transformation that's happening? And are you taking care enough of others? So to give you the context for the future of work, let me narrow it down to the next 5 years. What's going to be, this is the short version, just a few slides, what's going to be completely different over the next few years than anything we've ever experienced before, anything you've ever experienced before, and what's going to be the same? Well, the first thing I want to tell you about comes from a TED Talk. Maurice Conti, a couple years ago, said that how we work is going to change more in the next 20 years than most of human history. Now just think about that for a second. Can any of you keep up with that? I can't. I don't know how any of you are going to keep up with it. And yet that's what all of us, all of the people, you guys in finance and AP and shared services, app development, all of you are developing changes that are going to thrust change on people that's going to be more than the past 2,000 years. How is everybody going to keep up with it? I can't, and yet we must. That's how much change. So I want you to think, when I asked your personal development, your change, your transformation, and everybody else's, think about going through that. Are you prepared for that much change? I said between 20 to 25, this is going to happen within the next few years. According to the World Economic Forum, more work will be done by machines than humans. Now, is everybody going to be robotized and all jobs are going to be taken away? No, no. But what that does mean with RFID chips and the Internet of Things, that means that more of our behavior is going to be driven by analytics. Most of our bosses will not be human bosses. A lot of analytics are going to be telling us what to do. And what that comes down to is, even if the people you know are not replaced by machines or robots, every single one of you and me and everybody you know are going to be forced, by the amount of change that's happening, to go through personal, involuntary transformation. Now, many of you flew in here. You may know New York well, but the one thing you may not know is, in the last couple of years, to give you an idea what this slide means, in the last couple of years, New York City taxi cab driver suicides have averaged about 1 per month. Why is that? Uber, Lyft, everything else, shared rides, have totally, used to have to spend $1 million to get a medallion on your hood that said you were licensed to be a taxi driver. Now it's like anybody with a car and an app can drive around, and people that have been driving taxis for 10, 20, 30 years don't know what to do. Now, it may not be as traumatic or as dramatic as suicide rates, but every single person in this room and every single person you know is going to be going through that kind of transformation. So when I asked all of you to think with empathy, yesterday there was lots of talks about retraining people and how we need to be more focused on people. Put yourself in the shoes of everybody that's going through that transformation. Feel what they're feeling. That's what I mean by empathy. Well, what's going to be the same? Well, the one thing that's going to be the same in the next 5 years, 20 to 25, is that people think with their emotions, not their brains. We don't use this. We use this. So what does that mean? All of you guys are in one way or another associated with greater efficiencies, lower costs. Well, what's the biggest cost in any company? People. Everything you're doing is going to impact lots of people in your organization and externally throughout the entire supply chain. You personally and your work may not be the boogeyman, may not be a horrible threat, but you represent the greater efficiencies that have a huge impact on people. And this is real. This is not AI and machine learning and deep analytics. Having machines running our instructions is not just some farcical thing that I'm making up about the future. A couple years ago, you may remember this story, a couple years ago, United Airlines had its stock tank. And why was that? Because a machine, it began in the 50s and 60s with Sabre, American Airlines, but AI, the longest running AI that's commercially available is airline reservations. A machine told somebody to kick somebody off the plane because they couldn't get enough volunteers. Well, the people were not trained. The airline flight attendants, the airport security, the pilot were not trained in how to deal with this situation, so they ended up grabbing a doctor who was selected by the computer to yank him off the plane. They dragged him down the aisle. They bloodied his head. That was a machine telling people what to do. And this is what the majority of the people that you impact are worried about. Will you be the person that intercedes instead of the machine telling us what to do? So that's one thing that's the same as it's always been. Another thing is the hardest work out there in the future of work, all of us are that young lady on the right-hand side. All of you are ADD. All of you are struggling to pay attention to me at this moment just because your phone is so addictive. It's designed to be addictive. All the apps that we developed are designed to be as addictive as cocaine. That's intentional. So the hardest work that we have going forward is how do we pay attention to these things? And the goldfish is there to represent all of us. Microsoft recently did a study that all of you have the average attention span of a goldfish. Just a few seconds. Now, how many of you would say you are millennials? Show of hands, I see. Just a few, or maybe a third of the audience. I don't know you personally, but a couple statistics about millennials. Two different studies, 10% or 20%. So you know out of every 10 friends, you know 1 or 2 people that are like this. 10 to 20% of millennials text while having sex. Now, if they can't pay attention to their partners for just a couple minutes, do you really think they're going to be paying attention to your death by PowerPoint presentation or your boring meeting? So we have a real problem, regardless of how advanced the technologies get, of how we pay attention. And then, how can I help you? For the next few minutes, well, let me backtrack for just a second. Oh, I don't see a backer. You gave me one without a back, only forward. I want you to remember the slides we just covered. So we're all on overload. We're all ADD. We think with our emotions. And that computers and AI, thank you, I'm good. Computers and AI are really going to change our relationship with each other. So I want you to think about that as I go forward. I'm going to show you two simple tools. I only have 30 minutes. I had to figure out what I'm going to share with you. There are lots more, but these are important. So I want to share with you two tools. One is behind closed doors that I do with executive coaching. This is one-on-one for leaders of the organization, and it's directed at you. How can we help you deal with the future of work? Second is we, the organization, how can we help organizations transform? So what I do with coaching behind closed doors with executives is I ask them this question. What do I want my legacy to be? And in a second, I'm going to ask you that question. What do you want your legacy to be? Now, your legacy, think of it, you don't have to die to do this, but think of this as the eulogy that people would say at your funeral. It's the impact you have on others. It's not your product, it's not your service. You know, go back to Steve Jobs and Apple. It's not phones, it's not computers. It's, I want to put a ding in the universe. What is the impact you want to have on others? So I have a question for you to turn to your neighbor for a minute or two and talk about this. In a short sentence or a simple phrase, what do you want your legacy to be? We're now at the year end this year. We're about to be 2020. Within 3 years. Well, why am I picking that date? There's a specific reason for that. It relates to that. Remember that slide? Work is going to change more in the next 20 years than the past 2,000. If you, depending on your amount of your technology, that means you're going to live, and the people around you are going to live a lifetime's worth of change within 1 to 3 years. So 3 years from now, what is the impact you are going to have on others? What do you want your legacy to be? Turn to your neighbors for a minute or so and talk about that. Try and tell them what, as short as you can, as concisely, what's the impact you want to have on others? I'm just gonna repeat for the video. So we'll let it go. Just because I'm short on time, that takes up a little bit of time. So I'll just repeat what everybody says. Thank you for thinking of it, though. Okay, can I bring everybody back? Now, because I only have a half hour, I don't have time to go around the entire room, but can I have at least 1 or 2 or 3 volunteers who would like to share what you want your legacy to be? And we won't pass the mic around, I'll just repeat it. So speak loudly and I'll repeat for the mic. Who wants to share what they want their legacy to be? No, just speak loudly.
I would love to be able to transfer to my children my values that are respect, honesty, and trust.
Transfer to your children respect, honesty, and trust, which are your values.
Yes.
That's huge. Thank you. Who else would like to share?
My legacy is I'm training a service dog to end up with a wounded soldier or a police officer at the team, and I want to know that I did a good job and I took the time out of my life to do something like that.
So you train service dogs to help for military people?
Or a police officer or firefighter.
That's awesome. Thank you. And where I come from, in Morristown, New Jersey, is the headquarters of the Seeing Eye Dogs. I see lots of dogs being trained all around me. One other. Who else? Anybody else have another?
For mine, if any one of my employees showed up at my funeral, from any walk of my life, I wanted to say that that's the guy that empowered me from the day I met him. He was the one that empowered me to do what I wanted to do, regardless of what the change was.
That's amazing. Thank you. So you brought the workplace into it. Thank you for doing that. If any of your employees showed up at your funeral, he empowered me. That's awesome. I want you to know why this is so important. You, too, are going through massive personal transformation. When I coach executives, why this is so important, this becomes your North Star. This becomes the thing you focus on to get you through all the crap and the stupidity and all the chaos that's coming at you. So what I want to give you as a homework assignment after you leave here is think more about what you want your legacy to be. And I learned firsthand what my legacy was going to be. July 14th, 1994. I was living in Brooklyn, not far from here, and I got a call that my mom was in the hospital and just had a massive stroke. And we got there to the hospital, and we were told Mom was not going to make it through the night. And we were in the emergency room, and we were told, you know, there's nothing more we can do. Go up to the ICU, the intensive care unit on the 4th floor, and wait for her. And we did. And 5 minutes go by, no Mom. 10 minutes, no Mom. 20, nobody's telling us anything. 30 minutes go by. I'm waiting for my father to take charge and do something, but he's not a take charge kind of guy. So finally, at 40 minutes, I went ballistic. I'll admit I was an asshole. I kicked, I screamed, I cursed, but I got the attention. And remember that word I said earlier, empathy? The doctors and nurses all came around. They were empathetic. They were caring. But if I strip all that away, they said, sorry, your mom's been dying in the corner of the ER alone. Nobody's holding her hand. Nobody's with her because there was a miscommunication between the ER and the ICU. Mom was dying alone. Now, fortunately, even though she did pass away that night, fortunately, we did have time to get her up to the ICU, and we were with her when she passed. But my legacy is my mom's. See, I lost 40 of the last minutes that I would ever have with my mother. And I'm never going to get those minutes back. So my legacy is no matter what the topic I'm talking to you about, no matter what my slides say, I want you to know that life is precious. Don't waste it on stupid stuff. That's my legacy. That's what I know, no matter what chaos, no matter what AI, machine analytics are thrown at me, that's what I focus on. That's what I want. That's what helps me get through the clutter. You need to figure out what your legacy is going to be. So that will help guide you through the personal transformation. Well, that's the tool I give each executive to help them get themselves through the transformation. That's your homework assignment. I want each and every one of you thinking about what is your legacy going to be. So please take that on seriously. What I can guarantee, if you do it seriously, it will help you get through that transformation. The next thing I want to share with you, and why this is so important when I do this as coaching with leaders, is it clarifies the leader's passion, his or her why. Simon Sinek talks about this, know your why. It gives you unbelievable hyper-personal focus. That when all the chaos is coming at you, it says, this is what I'm about. This is what I need to remember. My kids, the people that I help with, animals, what my employees would say. It helps all of us remember and stay totally focused. And the next thing I want to share with you is, how do we focus entire organizations? Well, when chaos and clutter and data and analytics is coming at us, the best story wins. And most companies that I've dealt with are horrendous. They suck at telling their story of transformation. And why storytelling, not PR, not hype, but not spin, but really telling a good story about transformation is so important, because that's how human beings have made sense of the world since the dawn of humanity, since we sat around, caveman sat around fires. So I'm going to show you a tool that I've used for dozens of Fortune 250 companies to help them translate their transformation story. And one in particular, Bank of America, started using this for over 15 years when they were a small North Carolina regional bank, and they grew into a global behemoth. And this is not just hype or marketing or PR spin. What I do is I take the structure of a story. The universal structure of any story throughout all of humankind is 4 components: conflict, transition, climax, close. And what I did is I translated that to a corporate environment. And I do analytics, gap analysis on companies' strategic plans. And I help them restructure their strategy according to storytelling. One is our burning platform, our case for change. Why is it we have to change this year versus last year? 2 is successes to date. What have we accomplished in 2017, 18, and 19 that allowed us to leap into 2020? 3 is successes this year. How are we going to measure the success as a company of 2020? And then 4 is our destination, or in storytelling terms, they lived happily ever after. That's mission, vision, values. Now, quick question, just shout it out. What do you think most companies communicate the most on of this story? Shout out a number, 1, 2, or 3, or 4. 4, 3? Any others? Okay, so I'm hearing a mix. Well, first, that was a trick question. It's 4 equal components. What I want you to remember about storytelling, if you leave out any part of the story, it doesn't make sense. Most of you would know the movie Gladiator, where the Roman head of all of the armies is for the emperor, then suddenly he's battling against the emperor. If I left out the part where they enslaved his family and killed his family and all that other stuff, it wouldn't make sense. The story wouldn't make sense. So the first thing with the trick question is all 4 parts are equal. The second, the most communicated portion of the story in most companies is 3. Successes this year, which translates to most people in the company as, damn it, do more, better, faster, more, better, faster, more, better, faster, do more, 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 more. That's what most people hear. The least communicated, and at least at first, most desired part of the story is number 2. Successes to date. Why is that so important? That says I am valuable. I did something in 2017 or 18 or 19 that led the company to success in 2020. So think of this as number 1 and 4 is push and pull, carrot or stick. We need both. Burning platform is the compelling case for change, why we must change. Destination, mission, vision, values is where we're heading. We need both of those. We also need equally successes to date and success this year. Now, I'm not going to expect you to read this. This is just to show you that this is not just PR and puff storytelling. I literally take a company's strategic plan and translate it down to all their successes and measures and KPIs. I translate it down to just 4 columns, 1 page. So I help an entire company, can we go back one again? Help an entire company translate everything down to just 1 page. What's the takeaway from this? You may or may not be on the senior team. You may not be able to do this for your company. For yourselves, your department, for your team. Make sure, so homework assignment number 1 was personal. Make sure you are able to communicate to others and you live by your legacy. Homework assignment number 2, even if you can't do this for your entire company, and Tradeshift will supply my slides if you need them, or if you haven't taken a picture yet, make sure you are able to translate to your team. Here's why we have to change. This is what you did in the past couple of years that was amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here's what we're going to focus on this year, and here's where it's going to lead us to in the future. Make sure, even if you have a team of 5 people, you are able to communicate that. So the 2 tools I'm sharing with you are me, your personal transformation, your legacy, we, your team or your department or your entire company, tools. What I'm helping you with is how do we deal with sense making? Storytelling makes everything simple and clear, and it creates an emotional connection to where you're going. Remember that earlier slide. People think with their emotions, not their brains. So how do you emotionally connect everybody to where you're going? Why is this so important to Tradeshift and all the people in the supply chain and all the entire industry? Because the World Economic Forum says, for all the work you guys do in tech, what the missing element that we all need to deliver, what all of us, you, every person in this room and every company you represent, and me, what all of us need to deliver is the cultural and moral compass. You are the cultural and moral compass of all the digital transformation that you're delivering. Take this, if you don't write it down or take a picture of this, is my email, bill@simplerwork, and there's a reason I'm going to give it to you. You're already, Tradeshift has generously, thank you, purchased books, my last book, which you will receive here, and I'll sign it for you later. But I also, if you email me, I will send you a book that's due out next year, the spring of 2020, that is about the future of work. And I will send it to you for free if you email me. Tell me what you got out of this. So those are my 2 thank yous from Tradeshift and me, the book, the current book, from me, the future book. I want to thank you for your 30 minutes of your time and attention. Mom's legacy, tell me later if I lived up to Mom's legacy. There are 1,440 minutes in every single day. Did I make good use of a small portion of your 1440? Did I make a good use of using 30 minutes of your day? Focus on others, believe in yourself, have empathy, and please do your legacy homework assignment. Thank you so much.